the Monotonic ASMR Christmas Special, hosted by Monotonic ASMR, with special guests Rory Harrison, Noel Fielding, Clark Griswold, Ray Kiki, Wisconsin Tattletale, Captain Marco Ramius, Randy Kettlebell, and special musical guest, the Monotonics. And now, here's your host, Monotonic ASMR. Hello, and welcome to the first ever Monotonic ASMR Christmas Special. I'm Monotonic ASMR, and I'm joined by a wonderful variety of guests to help put you into the holiday spirit and to provide some relaxation in these crazy times around the holiday. So I invite you to hop on board our little express train to Christmas stress relief and just relax and have an enjoyable evening. Nothing says the holidays like the competitive baking spirit. So to start things off on our program tonight, we're going to pop it over to Noel, who this time of year we like to call Noel, for an intro to our holiday baking challenge. All right, Noel, take it away. Welcome, bakers. The judges have asked you to make 6 identical scones. They may be any shape that you like. They must incorporate 2 flavors, and those flavors can be anything you like, but the only requirement is they must taste good. You have 12 minutes, 120 minutes, somewhere between 12 and 120 minutes. On your marks, get set, bake. All right, time to bake some scones. I'm going to be doing a fairly simple recipe, and my flavors are going to be sour cherry and some bittersweet chocolate chips. And I'm going to go ahead and get these ready. I'm going to place them in my big bowl because they'll be added to the dry ingredients here before too long, just to give myself some space here. Got these beautiful sour cherries dried. And what I'm going to do is just slice these up a little bit to get smaller cherry chunks. Doesn't have to be precise, just want to get some smaller pieces to incorporate into the dough. They're pretty sticky too. Separate them a little bit. Just gonna cut through there. Wonderful flavor for our scones. I know most people say scones, but hey, I'm saying it the way Noel says it. Don't want to get in trouble. That is all that we need to do there. Go ahead and add these in to my chips. 1 to 2 cups of filling, your choice. Okay, there we go. Let's get some stuff out of our way so we can start on the dry ingredients. Now it's time to start on our dough. Pretty simple. Gonna mix up our dry ingredients, mix up our wet ingredients, then combine them, and then we'll shape the dough and bake it. So let's start with our flour. Going to get 2 3/4 cups. Spoon some in here. Okay, and there's our 3/4 cup. Now we need 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I prefer to refer to this as baking can and baking soda as baking box to remove any confusion. I could ever keep them apart. Okay, mix that in there. We need 1/3 cup of granulated sugar. The one thing I can tell you about baking is that it is a highly inexact science, and there is no need for precise measurements or weights of ingredients. So I'm using a 2/3 cup measure and filling it half full. I'm not the master baker in my family. That would be my wife. I'm really not even supposed to be here, but giving it my best go. And then we need some salt, going with 3/4 of a teaspoon here. Alright, and then I'm just going to combine this. Just get those mixed together. Okay, so I'm using a recipe straight from the King Arthur flour website. King Arthur, providers of the flour we're using here, provided in that I purchased it. But their website, if you ever looked at recipe websites, they're usually pretty insane. But King Arthur has wonderful recipes that just work. Very simple website, very easy to use without all the extra junk. So it's a great resource. I recently became aware of it. Of course, completely not sponsored in any way by King Arthur Flour. They would not want to sponsor someone who bakes in the way I do. So I've got a stick of butter here that I am just cutting into some smaller chunks, which we'll be adding into our dough. And this butter is nice and cold. Just get these chunks in there. And then we'll work on incorporating it. And they've provided a specialized tool for this operation. My whole life I've used 2 knives to kind of cut the butter up. So this is really amazing. So we're just going to get the butter sliced up into some smaller chunks, incorporated in our mix here. Don't have to be super small chunks. do the work. It's all the butter. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, all right, so our dry ingredients are all set. We just need to incorporate our filling. Just these kind of distributed. For the wet ingredients, going to need 2 eggs, there we go. Then we're going to want 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Delicious smell, love it. There we go. And then 1/2 to 2/3 cup of milk. I'm going to kind of lean towards the 1/2 side of things, as I found it can be pretty wet. So we'll start there. Okay. And then we're just going to whisk this together. Heavenly vanilla smell. Okay, so now all we're gonna do is work this into our dry ingredients. Just want to get this incorporated. Stirring's very challenging for me, and kind of one of the things that I know about this process is I want to be careful about not overworking the dough. We just kind of want to get this kind of all sticking together. Okay, start form into a dough-like entity. This might be a little dry with those fillings. Putz with it a little bit. See how we're doing here. Actually, this might just be about right. myself extra flour. We'll want that for our prep. Yeah, it is still fairly wet here. So I'm going to add just a sprinkle here. I don't want too much at all. We just want to get this to form. We don't want to really be aggressively working this. Okay. Just about. We are there. Don't really want to do any more work on that. Okay, so let's make a little bit more room here. Alright, we have our dough. And we want to get this on some parchment lined baking sheets. I'm just going to sprinkle a tiny bit of flour so it doesn't glue stick. I'm going to divide this in half. Okay. Form a ball here. Press it down. I want about like a 6-inch circle here. Pretty good. Okay, and then let's cut this into 6 pieces. Get our batch of scones. I'm going to go with triangles for this. Some of these cherries trying to jump boundaries. Get these and a circle again, and let's repeat with my other batch. We only had to make 6, but in case of catastrophic failure, I wanted to have more. Wedges reestablished, and then using that leftover milk, do a quick brush on the top. And then we're going to hit them with a sprinkle of sugar just to get a nice top on there. repeat with my other batch. Alright. A little bit of milk on the top there. And a wee sprinkle. Alright, now these are going into the freezer for 30 minutes to rest, get that gluten happy for the bake, which is going to happen at 425 degrees, around 20 minutes maybe. Alright, let's get these in the freezer, because that's just what you do on a baking show. It's the one thing I've learned. Hey Justin. Hey Noel. Do you think you're going to win this challenge? No. I never bake. I wasn't even supposed to be here. I'm just a courier. I was delivering a package and they grabbed me to come in here. What? That's amazing. What if you got a Dale Dollywood handshake? I'm just trying not to embarrass myself in front of the whole internet. Oh, don't be down. Did you know I can juggle? Let me show you. Justin's chocolate and cherry sconifers are inspired by the flavors of Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte. Tart cherry and dark chocolate are incorporated into a bog standard scone, which will be served with coagulated cream. A fir branch offers a fruitless attempt at arboreal decoration. Alright, let's get these in the oven. Alright, well, I have pulled these scones out of the oven. I pulled them before 20 minutes was up. I was checking them, but they got dark very quickly. The world tends towards chaos. There's nothing you can do about it. So I'm going to go ahead and place these on a prettier dish. Nice and warm. Gonna get these plated up for the judges. Alright, we have these wonderful scones. Our cream to go with them. Of course, we want to get a little bit of that beautiful holiday decor on the plate. And those are our chocolate and cherry sconifers. Alright, time for the judging. Judge not, lest you be judged yourself, but apparently that's part of the competition, so let's see how we do. Well, those scones look very appetizing. To help stay fit as you indulge in these wonderful holiday baked goods, here's a few tips from fitness expert Randy Kettlebell. Hey, I'm Randy Kettlebell, and I'm here to help you with a few workout tips for the holiday season. It's all too easy to eat too much food and sit around watching football and Lethal Weapon and let your gym routine fall off. Well, not you and not me. We'll keep up our commitment to functional strength and embodying the physical perfection that we represent. Alright, so here's a few easy workout routines you can do during this holiday season. We'll just need some light weights like this, a band, some elastic, grab a bungee cord out of the trunk of your car. It doesn't have to be fancy. Alright, so let's just start with our weights. Some bicep curls. Building those biceps. This is all we gotta do. Alright, and then we're gonna switch. We're gonna do the side curls. Really show off that muscle. There we go. That's all we gotta do. We just do about 200 of those and we'll be golden. Alright, and then let's curl these up into the chest and curl these up into the chest and curl these up into the chest and curl these up into the chest. We'll support them. Bend those knees. We're going to lift those up. Bend those knees. We're going to lift those up. That is all we got to do. Alright, easy exercises while keeping that muscle happening. Alright, let's grab the elastic band. There we go. Just have a nice bit of stretchy material here. Use this or something like it. Have another type of elastic here we'll look at as well for the next exercise. And for this, I'm just going to take it, get a good grip on it. I'm just going to stretch it out, stretch it out. Yeah, working those back muscles, working those arms and shoulders, developing strength, power, and internal fortitude. Alright. We can throw the television on while we do our exercises, listen to music, whatever gets you energized for your workout. Just stretch that out. There we go. Really quite simple. Okay. I'm going to give you one more exercise. I've got this contraption here. It's just elastic again, but it's got these nice handles for getting a grip on things, which is tough to do during the holidays. Alright, so for this, I'm going to take just one end. I'll set the other down and I'm going to step on it. And depending on where you step on it, that'll control the tension. You make it shorter, it's going to be tougher, which of course is what I'm doing. But go at your own pace. Use the strength that you need, okay? We're going to take this and we're just going to push it up towards the ceiling. Oh yeah, there it's happening. Let's just push that up towards the ceiling. Just developing the entire body to an unstoppable muscle mass. There we go. We're just going to repeat. We're going to do that 300, 400 times. It's a great way to start off your morning. And your 5 a.m. shake. Then you just go right into the routine before you get distracted by all the fun stuff happening around the house at the holidays. Alright, and let's switch that other side. Same thing. We're just going to press that up. We're using our whole body. Some Statue of Liberty action here. That's what I'm talking about. Just keep those reps going. Alright. This way we're staying strong while we're enjoying our time off. Alright, I'm going to leave you with one last tip, which which is maybe my best and easiest workout tip for the holidays. And that is ask for heavy Christmas presents. That way when you pick them up to shake them and see what they are, you're really building those muscles. All right. Happy holidays from me, Randy Kettlebell. Stay fit, stay strong, go get them. If you're looking to get into that Christmas spirit by putting up some holiday lights, we've got our resident expert on hand to give you some tips. Let's hand it over to Clark Griswold. All right, kids, let's get some Christmas lights hung up, okay? So we're just gonna start running our absolutely not. We're not just gonna rush into this. We need to have a sound, theoretical basis for what we're going to be doing. This is both for safety and because it's important philosophically just to understand. So if we're going to be dealing with electrical components, we have a very important relationship to worry about. W equals V times A. Your watts equal your voltage times your amperage. Now, what are watts? You can think of these as like the work done by your electricity. And the voltage, V, that's basically like the pressure in our system. You think of electricity like a hose. Voltage helps push water through that system. And then amps are the flow of electricity through, like the water flowing through that hose based on that pressure. So it's a pretty simple relationship, but this is going to have practical effects in how we approach our lighting design. Because if we think about our household circuit being at 120 volts, and we have circuit breakers that trip based on amperage, we're going to know what our total wattage of lights that we could run based off of those values. For instance, 20 amps. This is going to put a limit on the maximum number of watts of lighting that we can use. Otherwise, we're going to trip that breaker. Now, if you're serious about Christmas lights, and you should be, I'd hate to think about your kids being disappointed in you hanging up a few measly strands of lights rather than producing a lighting extravaganza as befits a true suburban father. Then you should have an electrician install a 240 volt circuit that you can plug into, which is going to give you a lot more wattage out of that. So please do look into that, because these are inviolable rules. You try to go too hard on this, you're going to shut the grid down. And the way infrastructure is these days, you'll probably be shutting the entire country down. So let's use our knowledge to be smart about how we design our Christmas lights this year. Okay? Now, with all of that critical information covered, let's dive into the two basic methods for a standard setup of Christmas lights. Got a structural grid in place that we can tap into. So, first method is basically an S method, S-curve shape. It's a purely orthogonal approach, horizontal and vertical. So we would initiate by going horizontally, drop this strand to the vertical, and then come back across horizontally to our other attachment point. We're going to get nice horizontal and vertical lines as we build out our grid of lights. This is an extremely sensible approach, and of course it's a very well designed and cleanly symmetrical geometric approach. Now, the alternative would be the zigzag, where we again are starting with our horizontal line, and then we cut back on the diagonal over to our next mounting point, and then proceeding from there horizontally again, and then we cut back on the diagonal to continue our stranding of these Christmas lights. Now, this is an extremely edgy approach, and I don't know if I could in good conscience recommend something in your standard suburban development, but it is up to you. This is a valid technique which it's used, but just keep in mind you're making a bold statement if you travel down a road like this. All right, happy Christmas lighting, everyone. Be safe out there. Remember those principles I taught you, and hopefully you can put on a wonderful show for your family. All right, good night and Merry Christmas. If you're like me, unwinding for the holidays can be difficult with all of the work stress leading into the Christmas period. We have a wonderful guest up next who's going to help with some of that stress and negative energy. He's someone who focuses on the social interactions and natural healing methods that can improve us all. He calls himself a naturo-sociopath. That's right, we have Reiki Master and Energy Guru, Reiki Key, here to help you out. Greetings. May peace and tranquility relentlessly seek you out during this holiday season. I'm Reiki Key, and I'm here to offer you some help with negative energy that may have built up as we come into this holiday season. I'm just going to be doing some energy pulling to help pluck away some of that bad energy and unnecessary stress that can get tied up within us. Even though might be on holiday, of those stresses and negativity can linger around, kind of like tinsel that's impossible to ever get rid of and clean up. So I can help pluck out those strands and hopefully leave you feeling more positive and relaxed. So if it's all right with you, I'll begin, okay? All right, let me just take a quick look here. Yeah. This is pretty typical for what I see. Just gonna start in here. Just gonna pull that away. And pull, just pluck away some of these negative strands. You don't need these anymore. And if you did, you could reclaim them without issue, but it's going to take away some of these pesky ones we don't really need. There we go. grab here and pull that. Grab and pull. Just to clear out some of the stuff that doesn't need to be here. Just causing tension, causing stressful obstructions. We just pluck these little negative strands out. Okay. I hope you're already feeling better as we've gotten some of these bigger strands pulled out here. There we go. It just looks like one in here that I want to grab. There we go. Alright, I think we're looking pretty good. Let me just... oh, there's just a little one there, but up here, I think we just get this last one there. Alright. So, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. It has been relieved of some of those unnecessary negative energies. Good evening. Alright. And let's hand the microphone over to our wonderful musical guest, the Monotonics. Gorgeous, gorgeous music. And now a quick word from our sponsor station. I'm Syne Slotkin, and on behalf of everyone here at Channel 4 Wise Mister, I want to wish you a Merry Holidays and a Happy New Year. And also send a reminder that our sister station, 98.7 KSMR, has DJ Artie McWhispers playing your Christmas favorites Tuesdays between 3 and 5 a.m. And now let's check in with a very special guest, Captain Marco Ramius, who I understand is out caroling at the moment.
If you're out caroling this year, you don't want to be rude. When you go to ring the doorbell, one ring only.
Wait, that's not a Christmas carol.
Let them shrink.
Next up, we're going to hear from Wisconsin Tattletale, founder of Rock'em Sock'em Martial Sciences. He's got some information to help you stay safe during the holidays so you can have a wonderful, relaxing, and danger-free Christmas.
Alright, all my Rock'em Sock'em warriors, I am here to give you some tips for dealing with a menace we are facing this Christmas season. There are reports of a man in red with a white beard breaking into homes all across the country. The police can't stop him. NORAD says they can track him, but can they tell you when he's coming to your house? No. You are on your own, but that's okay. I'm here to help, so you can protect your home from this red-suited menace. All right, first things first, remember that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty and home defense. So kids, don't sleep on Christmas night. Keep your eyes peeled on that fireplace in case this perp shows up. All right, so what are we gonna do? Well, he's a dangerous opponent. He's a big man who can fit through a narrow chimney. Flues don't stop him. Fire doesn't stop him. Is he supernatural, an alien, using some sort of mind tricks? I don't know. But these techniques I'm going to give you are going to work if you apply them correctly and with the ferocity that I know you possess inside your rock'em sock'em heart. All right, so what are we going to do? If he comes in, we're going to start stunning neck strike. Stunning neck strike. Now, he apparently has a big bag of presents, and that's probably going to be swinging in. All right, so we're going to use our left rising trapezoidal number 3 block. If you're one of my more advanced students, you can use the tilting dragon upward lateral block. All right, both are going to work for you, just depending on your level. Get some more options with the advanced move. But these are going to keep you safe from that present bag, okay? Then, move 3, the Vulcan nerve pinch. He's going down. I don't care what he is or where he came from. Vulcan nerve pinch, he's going down. Stunning neck strike. Block. Vulcan nerve pinch. And then what? We don't fight our battles alone, so we call for backup. Rock'em Sock'em operative requiring assistance in the 1600 block of Palisades. All right, kids, remember those 3 moves, eternal vigilance, and call for backup. You'll be all set to deal with this home invader come Christmas time.
Well, we're coming towards the end of our production here. And to start winding things down, we have a wonderful reading from Rory Harrison. He's going to be reading you a Christmas classic, a poem that's so evocative of many of the feelings of Christmas that we all experience. So let's go over to Rory Harrison, who'll be reading A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan Thomas. A Child's Christmas in Wales by Dylan Thomas. One Christmas was so much like another in those years around the sea town corner now, out of all sound except the distant speaking of the voices I sometimes hear a moment before sleep, that I can never remember whether it snowed for 6 days and 6 nights when I was 12, or whether it snowed for 12 days and 12 nights when I was 6. All the Christmases roll down towards the 2-tongued sea, like a cold and headlong moon bundling down the sky that was our street, and they stop at the rim of the ice-edged fish-freezing waves, and I plunge my hands in the snow and bring out whatever I can find. In goes my hand into that wool-white, bell-tongued ball of holidays, resting at the rim of the carol-singing sea, and out come Mrs. Prothero and the firemen. It was on the afternoon of the day of Christmas Eve, and I was in Mrs. Prothero's garden, waiting for cats with her son Jim. It was snowing. It was always snowing at Christmas. December, in my memory, is white as Lapland, though there were no reindeers. But there were cats, patient, cold, and callous, our hands wrapped in socks. We waited to snowball the cats. Sleek and long as jaguars, and horrible whiskered, spitting and snarling, they would slink and sidle over the white back garden walls. And the lynx hunters, Jim and I, fur-capped and moccasined trappers from Hudson Bay off Mumbles Road, would hurl our deadly snowballs at the green of their eyes. The wise cats never appeared. We were so still, Eskimo-footed Arctic marksmen in the muffling silence of the eternal snows, eternal ever since Wednesday, that we never heard Mrs. Prothero's first cry from her igloo at the bottom of the garden. Or if we heard it at all, it was to us like the far-off challenge of our enemy and prey, the neighbor's polar cat. But soon the voice grew louder. "Fire!" cried Mrs. Prothero, and she beat the dinner gong. And we ran down the garden with the snowballs in our arms towards the house, and smoke, indeed, was pouring out of the dining room, and the gong was bombilating, and Mrs. Prothero was announcing ruin like a town crier in Pompeii. This was better than all the cats and whales standing on the wall in a row. We bounded into the house, laden with snowballs, and stopped at the open door of the smoke-filled room. Something was burning all right. Perhaps it was Mr. Prothero, who always slept there after midday dinner with a newspaper over his face. But he was standing in the middle of the room saying, "A fine Christmas," and smacking at the smoke with a slipper. "Call the fire brigade," cried Mrs. Prothero as she beat the gong. "They won't be there," said Mr. Prothero. "It's Christmas." There was no fire to be seen, only clouds of smoke, and Mr. Prothero standing in the middle of them, waving his slipper as though he were conducting. "Do something," he said, and we threw all our snowballs into the smoke. I think we missed Mr. Prothero and ran out of the house to the telephone box. "Let's call the police as well," Jim said, "and the ambulance, and Ernie Jenkins. He likes fires." But we only called the fire brigade, and soon the fire engine came, and 3 tall men in helmets brought a hose into the house, and Mr. Prothero got out just in time before they turned it on. Nobody could have had a noisier Christmas Eve. And when the firemen turned off the hose and were standing in the wet, smoky room, Jim's aunt, Miss Prothero, came downstairs and peered in at them. Jim and I waited, very quietly, to hear what she would say to them. She said the right thing always. She looked at the 3 tall firemen in their shining helmets, standing among the smoke and cinders and dissolving snowballs, and she said, "Would you like anything to read?" Years and years ago, when I was a boy, when there were wolves in Wales, and birds the color of red flannel petticoats whisked past the harp-shaped hills,
when we sang and wallowed all night and day in caves that smelt like Sunday afternoons in damp front farmhouse parlors, and we chased, with the jawbones of deacons, the English and the bears, before the motor car, before the wheel, before the duchess-faced horse, when we rode the daft and happy hills bareback. It snowed, and it snowed. But here a small boy says, "It snowed last year, too. I made a snowman, and my brother knocked it down, and I knocked my brother down, and then we had tea." But that was not the same snow, I say. Our snow was not only shaken from whitewash buckets down the sky. It came shawling out of the ground and swam and drifted out of the arms and hands and bodies of the trees. Snow grew overnight on the roofs of the houses like a pure and grandfather moss, minutely white-ivied the walls and settled on the postman opening the gate like a dumb, numb thunderstorm of white, torn Christmas cards. Were there postmen then, too? With sprinkling eyes and wind-cherried noses, on spread frozen feet, they crunched up to the doors and mittened on them manfully. But all the children could hear was a ringing of bells. You mean that the postman went rat-a-tat-tat and the doors rang? I mean that the bells that the children could hear were inside them. I only hear thunder sometimes, never bells. There were church bells, too. Inside them? No, no, no. In the bat-black, snow-white belfries, tugged by bishops and storks, and they rang their tidings over the bandaged town, over the frozen foam of the powder and ice cream hills, over the crackling sea. It seemed that all the churches boomed for joy under my window, and the weathercocks crew for Christmas on our fence. Get back to the postmen. They were just ordinary postmen, fond of walking and dogs and Christmas and the snow. They knocked on the doors with blue knuckles. Ours has got a black knocker. And then they stood on the white welcome mat in the little drifted porches and huffed and puffed, making ghosts with their breath, and jogged from foot to foot like small boys wanting to go out. And then the presents? And then the presents after the Christmas box, and the cold postman with a rose on his button nose tingled down the tea tray slithered run of the chilly glinting hill. He went in his ice-bound boots like a man on fishmonger's slabs. He wagged his bag like a frozen camel's hump, dizzily turned the corner on one foot, and by God, he was gone. Get back to the presents. There were the useful presents, engulfing mufflers of the old coach days, and mittens made for giant sloths, zebra scarfs of a substance like silky gum that could be tug-o-war down to the galoshes, blinding tam-o'-shanters like patchwork tea cozies, and bunny-suited busbies and balaclavas for victims of head-shrinking tribes. From ants who always wore wool next to the skin, there were mustached and rasping vests that made you wonder why the ants had any skin left at all. And once I had a little crocheted nose bag from an ant now, alas, no longer whinnying with us. And pictureless books in which small boys, though warned with quotations not to, would skate on Farmer Giles' pond, and did, and drowned, and books that told me everything about the wasp, except why. Go on to the useless presents.
bags of moist and many-colored jelly babies, and a folded flag, and a false nose, and a tram conductor's cap, and a machine that punched tickets and rang a bell. Never a catapult. Once, by mistake that no one could explain, a little hatchet, and a celluloid duck that made, when you pressed it, a most unduck-like sound, a mewing moo that an ambitious cat might make who wished to be a cow, and a painting book in which I could make the grass, the trees, the sea, and the animals any color I pleased, and still the dazzling sky-blue sheep are grazing in the red field under the rainbow-billed and pea-green birds. Hard-boileds, toffee, fudge, and all sorts, crunches, cracknel, humbugs, glaciers, marzipan, and butterwelsh for the Welsh, and troops of bright tin soldiers who, if they could not fight, could always run, and snakes and families and happy ladders, and easy hobby games for little engineers complete with instructions. Oh, easy for Leonardo, and a whistle to make the dogs bark, to wake up the old man next door, to make him beat on the wall with his stick to shake our picture off the wall, and a packet of cigarettes. You put one in your mouth and you stood at the corner of the street and you waited for hours, in vain, for an old lady to scold you for smoking a cigarette, and then with a smirk you ate it, and then it was breakfast under the balloons. Were there uncles like in our house? There are always uncles at Christmas, the same uncles. And on Christmas mornings, with dog-disturbing whistle and sugar fags, I would scour the swath of town for the news of the little world, and find always a dead bird by the post office or the white deserted swings, perhaps a robin, all but one of his fires out. Men and women waiting or scooping back from chapel, with taproom noses and wind-bust cheeks, all albinos, huddled their stiff black jarring feathers against the irreligious snow. Mistletoe hung from the gas brackets in all the front parlors. There was sherry and walnuts, and bottled beer and crackers by the dessert spoons, and cats in their furabouts watched the fires, and the high-heaped fires spat, all ready for the chestnuts and the mulling pokers. Some few large men sat in the front parlors without their collars, uncles almost certainly, trying their new cigars, holding them out judiciously at arm's length, returning them to their mouths, coughing, then holding them out again as though waiting for the explosion. And some few small aunts not wanted in the kitchen, nor anywhere else for that matter, sat on the very edges of their chairs, poised and brittle, afraid to break, like faded cups and saucers. Not many those mornings trod the piling streets. An old man always, fawn-bowlered, yellow-gloved, and at this time of year with spats of snow, would take his constitutional to the white bowling green and back, as he would take it wet or fire on Christmas Day or Doomsday. Sometimes, too, a hale young man, with big pipes blazing, no overcoats and wind-blown scarfs, would trudge, unspeaking, down to the forlorn sea, to work up an appetite, to blow away the fumes, who knows, to walk into the waves until nothing of them was left but the two curling smoke clouds of their inextinguishable briars. Then I would be slap-dashing home, the gravy smell of the dinners of others, the bird smell, the brandy, the pudding and mince coiling up to my nostrils, when out of a snow-clogged side lane would come a boy the spit of myself, with a pink-tipped cigarette and the violet past of a black eye, cocky as a bullfinch, leering all to himself. I hated him on sight and sound, and would be about to put my dog whistle to my lips and blow him off the face of Christmas, when suddenly he, with a violet wink, put his whistle to his lips and blew so stridently, so high, so exquisitely loud, that gobbling faces, their cheek bulged with goose, would press against their tinselled windows the whole length of the white, echoing street. For dinner, we had turkey and blazing pudding, and after dinner the uncles sat in front of the fire, loosened all buttons, put their large, moist hands over their watch chains, groaned a little, and slept. Mothers, aunts, and sisters scuttled to and fro bearing tureens. Aunt Bessie, who had already been frightened twice by a clockwork mouse, whimpered at the sideboard and had some elderberry wine. The dog was sick. Auntie Dosey had to have 3 aspirins, but Auntie Hannah, who liked port, stood in the middle of the snowbound backyard, singing like a big-bosomed thrush. I would blow up balloons to see how big they would blow up to, and when they burst, which they all did, the uncles jumped and rumbled. In the rich and heavy afternoon, the uncles breathing like dolphins and the snow descending, I would sit among festoons and Chinese lanterns, and nibble dates, and try to make a model man-o'-war, following the instructions for little engineers, and produce what might be mistaken for a sea-going tram-car. Or I would go out, my bright new boots squeaking, into the white world, on to the seaward hill, to call on Jim and Dan and Jack, and to pad through the still streets, leaving huge, deep footprints on the hidden pavements. I bet people will think there have been hippos. What would you do if you saw a hippo coming down our street? I'd go like this, bang. I'd throw him over the railings and roll him down the hill, and then I'd tickle him under the ear and he'd wag his tail. What would you do if you saw 2 hippos? Iron flanked and bellowing, hippos clanked and battered through the scudding snow towards us as we passed Mr. Daniel's house. Let's post Mr. Daniel a snowball through his letterbox. Let's write things in the snow. Let's write, Mr. Daniel looks like a spaniel all over his lawn. Or we walked on the white shore. Can the fishes see it's snowing? The silent, one-clouded heavens drifted on to the sea. Now we were snow-blind travelers lost on the north hills, and vast, dew-lapped dogs with flasks round their necks ambled and shambled up to us, baying Excelsior. We returned home through the poor streets, where only a few children fumbled with bare red fingers in the wheel-rutted snow, and cat-called after us, their voices fading away as we trudged uphill into the cries of the dock birds and the hooting of ships out in the whirling bay. And then, at tea, the recovered uncles would be jolly, and the ice cake loomed in the center of the table like a marble grave. Auntie Hannah laced her tea with rum, because it was only once a year. Bring out the tall tales now that we told by the fire, as the gaslight bubbled like a diver. Ghosts wooed like owls in the long nights when I dared not look over my shoulder. Animals lurked in the cubbyhole under the stairs where the gas meter ticked. And I remember that we went singing carols once, when there wasn't the shaving of a moon to light the flying streets. At the end of a long road was a drive that led to a large house, and we stumbled up the darkness of the drive that night, each one of us afraid, each one holding a stone in his hand in case, and all of us too brave to say a word. The wind through the trees made noises as of old and unpleasant, and maybe web-footed men wheezing in caves. We reached the black bulk of the house. What shall we give them? Hark the herald? No, Jack said. Good King Wenceslas, I'll count 3. 1, 2, 3, and we began to sing, our voices high and seemingly distant in the snow-felted darkness round the house that was occupied by nobody we knew. We stood close together near the dark door. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. And then a small, dry voice, like the voice of someone who has not spoken for a long time, joined our singing. A small, dry, eggshell voice from the other side of the door. A small, dry voice through the keyhole. And when we stopped running, we were outside our house. The front room was lovely. Balloons floated under the hot water bottle gulping gas. Everything was good again and shone over the town. Perhaps it was a ghost, Jim said. Perhaps it was trolls, Dan said, who was always reading. Let's go in and see if there's any jelly left, Jack said. And we did that. Always on Christmas night there was music. An uncle played the fiddle, a cousin sang Cherry Ripe, and another uncle sang Drake's drum. It was very warm in the little house. Auntie Hannah, who had got on to the parsnip wine, sang a song about bleeding hearts and death, and then another in which she said her heart was like a bird's nest, and then everybody laughed again, and then I went to bed. Looking through my bedroom window out into the moonlight and the unending smoke-colored snow, I could see the lights in the windows of all the other houses on our hill and hear the music rising from them up the long, steadily falling night. I turned the gas down. I got into bed. I said some words to the close and holy darkness, and then I slept. What an absolutely wonderful show this has been. It's been great for me to be a part of it, to host all these fine people. And I just want to send a Christmas message out to all of you. This has been an incredible year of growth for the channel. Such a wonderful outpouring of support from all of you. Welcome to all the new viewers. I just want to wish you stress-free holidays. Take care. These times can be challenging even though we're theoretically celebrating or on holiday. So, wishing the best for you. and thank you for being a part of the channel. I know we're in uncertain times. There's just so much change in the world, whether we like it or not. These are era-defining changes that we're all facing. And so I just want to say, be kind to each other. This isn't about whether you're on the right or the left or somewhere in between. Whichever side you're on, I guarantee you that what's going on with the other side is more complicated than you imagine. We're all going to need to listen and be generous with each other. And really, we're all facing many of the same challenges. When I say we're, I mean people all around the world. There's just a lot going on. So take care. Do your best to understand and be kind and realize we're all in this together. And I send that message in the true spirit of Christmas, wishing goodwill towards everyone. And to wrap things up, we'll shift towards the new year and take a moment to reflect back on the channel over this last year. So I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of the Monotonics as we do a little year-end reflection here. All right, take it away. It is a potato and leek soup. I'm just chopping up some green onions and some garlic. That's 1.2 hours more you have for hustling. This is the Pétion. The explosive ordnance disposal guy. He's got a newborn. He took one look at this thing and he was out. The chicken breast with mashed potato, broccolini, and shallot reduction. These, your future is so bright, I gotta wear shades. Very nice blue, very modern. Alright, things are getting pretty happy here. There's no doubt that this version is exceptional. So we need a fully prepped budget for consideration. Let's see, with your gait, it takes about 3 minutes to get there at a full sprint. So I'll notify you 3 minutes and 10 seconds before the boarding door closes. And of course, some of those wonderful ripe tomatoes. Just gonna lightly press. And to work relentlessly to remove impediments to coziness. So provide nice flavoring to our stock. It's like my other one, but a little monster. Well, that'll be 4 copper pieces. The fellow up the road will charge you 2 silver pieces for that ale. Can you believe that? Nothing unusual befits here. Very good cardiovascular condition. Magic. Yeah, magic. We desperately need something. Yeah, I know that. I'm Monotonic ASMR, and this is my masterclass. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful night. I wish you a happy Christmas and a Merry New Year. Good night.